Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to give you 5 tips to help you get your dishes from your dishwasher cleaner than they've ever been. So you ready? Let's get into this. The first tip has to do with cleaning and scraping your plates. Do you clean your plates off before you put them into your dishwasher? Do you scrape them? What do you do? The answer to that is you should scrape the big pieces of food off your dishes, but you don't want to clean your dishes. You want them to go into your dishwasher looking pretty gnarly like that. The reason for that is the soap needs dirt and food particles to stick to in order for it to do its job. If you put clean plates into your dishwasher, you actually run the risk of cracking and scratching the plates, and you also have a much higher chance of getting that white film that you can see on your glasses sometimes when your dishwashing gets done, and we all know that's pretty gross in itself. The next tip is actually how to load your dishwasher rack. We're going to start with the lower rack, and as a rule of thumb, you want to have your larger stuff in the back and your smaller stuff in the front. We'll talk about why that is a little bit later. So we'll put things like pots all the way in the back, and you want these to be sitting kind of on an angle here. You don't want anything to be sitting flat in your dishwasher. If anything is flat, then you've got the chance of water pulling on top and then it's not going to be dry. If you have it at an angle like this, then all that water is going to run off. I only have this particular pot in here just to show you how to do this. For something with a stainless steel finish like this has, I wouldn't recommend putting that in your dishwasher at all because your dishwasher can tarnish this and you don't want to do that. Next, we'll load a couple of dishes. You notice that I've got different sets of tines here. My tines in the back are all angled towards the right, and my tines in the front are all angled towards the left. You always want your dishes to be angled inwards. So if I'm putting this on the rear rack, I put it back over here. As you see, the back of the dish is sloping this way and the front of the dish sloping in this way. And if I was going to load this on the front rack, I'd set it on this side facing this direction instead. You can see if I put that there, it's pushing up against this pot. We wouldn't want to do that either, so these would actually end up here someplace. And then we'd put smaller dishes back here. But we'll go ahead and set this back here for now. So we'll just fill this in with a couple of extra dishes here as well. Next, we'll put a few bowls in here. And you don't want to have these bowls right on top of each other. Like I can actually put this right in here in the next spot. But if I'm putting them super close together like this, there's no way there's going to be any water getting in on this top dish here. So the bottom of this bowl and the top of this one are both going to be disgusting. So you want to space these out just a little bit so that they're just kind of leaning on each other, but still with plenty of space in between for the water to shoot up in there. Next, we'll move on to the silverware rack. A lot of newer dishwashers come with the silverware racks that have the attachment on top here with all the little holes in it. Those things are designed to keep all your silverware separate. That way you don't have them overlapping and it's easy to clean in between them. But in our case, we don't have that, so we have to sort of alternate how our silverware is in there. What I mean by that is if you have a spoon here and you put it spoon side down, then the next one you'd want to put handle side down. That way you have sort of a mix of angles of how everything is in these little racks. That way you don't have something like your spoons nesting like that and sitting like that in the dishwasher, therefore not being able to clean in between those. And one thing to notice when you're talking about knives, butter knives, not really so much of an issue. You can sort of put them any way you want. But when you're talking about a steak knife that's got a serrated edge here, and this actually goes for sharp knives that either have a serrated edge or even the ones that don't. That edge can rust, so those type of knives I don't recommend putting in your dishwasher at all. You should probably hand wash those. But I'm just going to throw this in here anyway because that's a cheap knife and I really don't care. Now moving on to the top rack. This rack is designed for big utensils, small plates, and your cups. What most people do is they put the cups over these tines like this when they're loading this thing up, trying to put them in such a way to where they're not going to move around too much. And that's not how this thing is supposed to be designed. If you're putting stuff directly on the tines, like this and stuff, then you're holding this stuff straight and there's no way for it to drain properly. That and these tines can actually mess up the insides of your cups. Where these belong is on the edge right here. As you can see, this section here and over here are angled downward, and they're like that for a reason. It's designed like that, so if you put cups here, they automatically have to sit at an angle. That way they're going to drain properly and you're not going to have a whole bunch of water sitting on top. Sometimes you have bigger cups and you don't have any choice and you just have to kind of improvise a little bit. But in this case, we can get them sitting at that angle and we're all good. Something like this measuring cup has this area in the back here. If this is at any kind of normal angle, there's going to be plenty of water sitting in that. So you're probably going to want to use this area right here where it can still hold this at an angle and still drain properly. On this side, we're going to put some small bowls, and we're just going to layer those in here the same way we did with the larger bowls in the bottom rack. And then we just have this wire rack that we're going to set right in the back here. And we can slide in a couple of spatulas, just like this. A lot of dishwashers have a third rack up here, and I had one of those at my last place, which sadly I had to give up when we moved. But that top rack is designed for stuff like this, silverware, measuring cups, that kind of stuff. All it really does is add a little bit of convenience. That way you're not filling up the rest of your dishwasher with these things. Some dishwashers have little things like these little clips right here, if you can see that. Sometimes they'll be right here on the rack, sometimes they'll be here on the side, but in most cases they're designed to hold wine glasses and that type of stuff. So if you're not using any wine glasses, you can just tuck that out of the way and just sort of ignore it. The next tip is to be careful not to block your jets. Typically you have one up in the top right here, you have one that spins around right here that's connected to the bottom of your top shelf, and you have one right here that spins around in the bottom of your dishwasher to clean the bottom rack. You don't want anything obstructing those, otherwise it's not going to be able to shoot water through your dishwasher, and therefore it's not going to be able to clean anything very well. And what I mean by that is, let's say you've got some measuring spoons like this, and you've set this on here, and you want to get these clean, and they're hanging down like this. Well, when the sprayer comes around, it's just going to sort of hit this, and it's never going to make it around. It's just going to sit here in this one position. That means that nothing in these areas up here is going to get clean. It's just going to sit here spraying one section. The thing with the measuring spoons is actually a super duper common thing. These are a little bit harder to clean because they do naturally nest like this. If you've got that third rack on the top, you can sort of flare these out like this and set them face down. Since we don't have that, we can put them in the silverware tray and just sort of use the different compartments here to sort of separate these out a little bit. That way it'll clean them up really well. Hey, by the way, if this is your first time here and you want to learn some cool new recipes, get some great cooking tips and tricks and all sorts of other kitchen related things, then start now by subscribing to the channel and clicking the notification bell so you never miss a thing. Don't overload your dishwasher. As far as this bottom rack goes, this is just about as full as you ever want that rack to be. The upper rack, maybe a couple of things here. Not too much more than that. I know it's a pain in the neck, and sometimes you've got a bunch of dishes you want to clean, and you just want to shove those last 2 or 3 dishes in there someplace just to get them done and out of your hair. But if you overload the dishwasher, you're likely going to have a whole bunch of stuff in there that doesn't get clean, and you end up having to wash everything over again anyway. So worst case scenario, you got to hand wash a couple of dishes, or you just put them in the next load or something like that. Either way, it's better than running your cycle twice. If you're finding that the soap packet is still sitting here with the compartment open at the end of your wash and it's just a big gooey mess, that usually means that you've got something loaded in the front of your dishwasher here that's really big, and the door here is hitting that when it's trying to open during your wash. That goes back to the tip we were talking about right at the beginning of the video where I said to load the large stuff in the back. That's one of the main reasons you want to do that, because you want to keep the front of the machine open for stuff exactly like that. This compartment right here is for rinse. We use jet dry, but really it kind of depends on the water that you have at your house, whether you really need that or not. If you're running wash cycles and you notice that you have lots of spots and stuff on your glasses whenever they get done, then you might try putting rinse in here, and that will alleviate that problem. If you don't have that problem, no need to even use that. One last bonus tip I have for you pertains to Tupperware. If you've got a dishwasher that's been made in the last couple of years, you'll notice that a lot of them no longer have heated drying anymore. Nowadays, everything's got to be a lot more eco. That means all those heating elements are going away, and instead you have to rely on residual heat from the final rinse. If your machine has an extra drying feature, and most of them do, it'll also run a fan in the background as well. That actually works really well. Since Tupperware is made of plastic, it doesn't retain heat very well, so a lot of that heat from the rinse cycle ends up getting wasted on these, and they'll stay wet. If you arrange them in your dishwasher like we showed you in this video, it's going to sort of minimize that problem, but it's not going to go away completely. A lot of times these are still going to be a little bit wet at the end, unless your fan drying is really good in your dishwasher, in which case it dries them up pretty good. Our LG dishwasher that we had at our old place did a really good job with these. The Samsung that was already here when we bought the new place, not so much. You might have to modify a couple of these tips depending upon what brand and model of dishwasher you have and what features come with it. But for the most part, most of the stuff should be pretty universal. If you like this video, you might like this video right here where we show you how to clean the inside of the glass on your oven door. If you ever had anything drip down in between there, you know what I'm talking about because it's really irritating if you're the kind of person that likes to keep everything clean. Well, that's it for now. I hope to see you again really soon, and until that time, I'm Joe, and I hope you have a phenomenal day. Take it easy.